All American Gunslingers presenting Ubaldi Reports.
Hey, this is John at Ubaldi Reports, the one podcast that provides fact, not fiction, on issues affecting America, whether nationally or internationally. And always, I've got my co-host, Joe Bitz. But before we get started, if you want to find Ubaldi Reports, you just can Google it, go to any of the podcast streaming sites at Ubaldi Reports, and it's spelled Ubaldi Reports, Reports. So I just want to get that out of the way first. Again, thank you for all our listeners and listening to past podcasts. But I want to introduce my co-host, Joe Bitz.
That's me.
Who is a retired combat Marine who served in Iraq, was wounded in Iraq. Luckily, thankfully he's fine and he's healthy. But he brings a unique perspective, and we just want to talk about this podcast. Is going to be talking about transgender, because that seems to be a big issue with a lot of these companies like Target, Kohl's, the LA Dodgers.
So let's kind of go into...
Bud Light was the one that really got it started.
Well, let's kind of jump in there. Is there more of a problem, or do you think it's kind of maybe media kind of perpetuating it versus the actual people?
I mean, I don't know if it's a problem. All I know is you see companies. Now, the big one that really started it off.
I do want to, we'll talk about Bud Light, but going right into it. So I think when they did the campaign, it was kind of more of assault on women than it was for men.
Correct.
But I think Bud Light drinkers kind of responded back with that. But then Bud Light really kind of pulled it back from there. So am I a good person for drinking Bud Light, or not drinking Bud Light? Because there's two ends that, okay, if I drink Bud Light, then this group doesn't like me. But if I do drink Bud Light, then this group.
I mean, it just depends where you're at. I think if you decide to drink Bud Light, that's on you.
That's not really good. You know what? Bud Light is not really that good.
I know Bud Light, and I used to work at a grocery store a number of years ago. Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch has always been a product that if you go to the beach, you go to the river, you go camping, you take your 24-pack of Bud Light, it's easy to carry. It's not the most, from what I don't drink, but from what I did drink way back when.
Marine beer was Natty Light.
But it was always just a cheaper version of blue-collar beer. Now, if you wanted to get a better beer, the microbrews or other more upscale beer was the one you went to.
Now, back in the day, microbrews are trash. Now they're really good.
Yeah, okay, but now when Bud Light came out with that, they forgot who their demographics were, and they just went with. But you're seeing a lot of companies push this. Now, I don't know how big transgender, what the percentages of American. Last time I checked a little while ago, it was like less than 1% consider themselves transgender.
Yes, and then that demographic is very, very low.
But the problem
is, it's even lower than that. It's like a point. It's a point zero something.
Going by what you said at the beginning, it really kind of took heed. I think last year when Leah Thomas, the swimmer from, I think it was Penn, she went into swimming competition and she went against one of the swimmers, is Riley Gaines from Kentucky.
Yeah.
And Riley Gaines, and they lost because Leah Thomas swam the year prior on the Penn men's swimming team, and he got, was middle of the pack. Now all of a sudden he's dominating these swimming events. And you look at Leah Thomas, he's obviously taller, and men typically in sports have a bigger lung capacity, bone structure, heart, and swimming, and I swim a lot. Your lungs are your bread and butter. And when you have a bigger lung capacity, that's what gives you an undue advantage. And then you see other sports.
But you would probably still get smoked by the female swimmers, right?
Well, here's an example.
If you were swimming against the female swimmers, you'd probably get smoked, wouldn't you?
Here's an example. I swam at the pool I used to swim at, and there was a 17-year-old girl. She was one of the top junior national swimmer at her age group in swimming. She smoked me in the pool.
Okay.
But she's been swimming for years, but also she has, I have about 35, 40 years on her. That makes a difference. I was in my 50s and she was 17. Makes a difference. Now, there were a couple lifeguards who were in their early 20s, and they were just a little bit better than me in swimming.
Yeah.
But I still had about 30 years on them in age. That makes it so I'm in my 50s swimming against swimmers who are in their early 20s. That makes a big difference.
It does.
But
I mean, we're kind of just jump right into sports when it comes to transgenders in America.
correct.
I mean, we still have to kind of focus on. There's been a lot more backlash. I think, especially from Target, they kind of jumped into
This whole
Well, I think they kind of went into Pride Month a little premature, but I guess who they were targeting was the problem.
yeah, who they were targeting, but also where they were putting their pride support items. They were putting it right next to children's wear.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you had for women, you had to make the determination: is it this made for a man or a woman?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the other issue. And it's just like, and if you criticize them, it's just like you're almost devaluating women. It's
Yeah.
just like when Dylan Mulvaney was doing a commercial. I think it was for Nike or one of the companies. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one. He's doing commercials for selling sports bra. A biological male is going to sell sports bras and talking about womanhood. He's only been technically, I guess, a woman for less than a year. And when you see biological men, women winning Women of the Year awards,
Mm-hmm.
you start to question: are you devaluating women? And then when you dare complain, or you don't like that, then you're casted as you're homophobic. And when they're pushing it in the schools, and some can question that, but this is fact. They're seeing in California, Virginia, and many other states, they're talking about teaching, LGBTQ issues down into elementary school. And that was the whole thing with Governor Ron DeSantis's bill. I can't think of the title of it. And everybody was basically the Don't Say Gay bill. It had nothing to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that we're not going to be pushing this to the kindergarten through third grade. Now, you've got children around,
I
a
do.
child at that age.
I do.
How would you feel if they push sexually explicit or pornographic material or images and material to your daughter's age?
Yeah, no, that's a no-go, especially considering her age. But so school year's over for my son, but he also, so he has a transgender friend.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. Female to male, identifies as he, him. So, I mean, I don't think there wouldn't be any issues. It could kind of be like that tomboy syndrome.
Could be.
But they were, I think, prior up to whatever bill was passed here in Florida, they were looking at the gender affirming care.
Correct.
And, do I agree with it? No. Do I disagree with it? Not really either. I'm kind of like in the middle when it comes to that, because I don't care. Be who you want to be. But that's kind of like your time. I think definitely, your adolescents, teenagers, and even like kind of going up. That's kind of like your area to explore and find out who you are as a person or what you're going to be. And I don't think, I think let's not be hasty here.
Well, the only thing when it comes to that for children go through unique time frame. Like, let's say a lot of girls sometimes are more tomboy
Mm-hmm.
than they act girl, but that's just a period they're going through. And if you're gonna do that before you start to do a life altering change to your body,
Yeah.
I want you to have more of an idea of, is that the decision you want to go? Not at that point and have someone else make that decision. Wait till you're at least 18 when you're a full-grown adult. Let you make that decision.
But also, I mean, to speak on maybe their parents' behalf, kind of, they know, it wasn't like a teacher kind of figured this out and took, this person behind their back and it's like, okay, well, we see what's going on. We're gonna assist you in doing this. And so I think the parents are like completely. I know the parents are completely aware of what's going on, but I mean, does that take, like, should the state take matters into their own hands
Well,
when it comes to something like that?
I still
Like,
even
what
though,
if Georgia, or maybe there's an adjacent state where they can go to and start
but I
this
still
up?
don't agree with gender affirming care for a child, even though they're going through their parents. Again, their parents are making that decision for the child, and kids go through different periods, and sometimes they go through their issues that parents aren't fully, maybe not aware of. But I just think not for a child. No, I think I'm just totally getting, and I'm sure there's going to be people commenting
Well,
again.
maybe
I
we
just
can.
don't. No, I think if you're going to do that, gender altering, a life altering change to your body, then you have to be over 18 years old to have it
Okay,
done.
but I don't need to be 18 years old in order to get my ears pierced.
You're talking about something that's
I can get look. I don't. If my parents show up to a tattoo parlor, if I show up to a tattoo parlor
but
with
that's
my
not
16-year-old, I mean, we could do
okay.
that.
True, but that's not changing the fundamental
That's
aspect.
something permanent.
Yeah, but that's not changing for a girl making if she takes hormone blockers or anything like that, or mutilating her genitalia. That's you don't get that back. If you get a tattoo, you can get a tattoo removal.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get your earrings, you don't want your earrings anymore. You can the holes can be plugged. You're not changing your fundamental aspect of whether you're a
So
boy
why
or a
is
girl.
this different? Why are they just like, well, for the A, B, and C, you have to be 18 in order to do this, but for this, no.
Now, this one is because there's no going back. There is no going back. If you take a girl and you do everything you can to prevent her from ever having children to her body, and the same thing with a boy, no. When you alter their genitalia and anything like that, there is no going back on that. And it just seems like they're pushing this and pushing this, and they're doing things that are pushing a lifestyle or an element. No, it's just to me, it's a bridge too far. I mean, that is, and you see these companies need to stick with what they do best. Like Bud Light or Anheuser-Busch, you sell beer.
Mm-hmm.
Target, you sell clothing and other items.
But weren't they just maybe? I think maybe it was just they were trying to get in front of the June is Pride Month, along with whatever is going on. But
what you're doing
were
is
they just trying to get ahead of the curve?
whatever they're doing. You're seeing companies either they're catering to this woke ideology because they're afraid of getting sued, or for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
But when the LA Dodgers aligning themselves with a group that debases Catholic nuns, why do you have to debase a religious organization or a religious entity?
But I think so. Now that you mention religion, that's what I'm kind of thinking. That's how I'm kind of figuring how the LGBTQ is kind of working now. It's not they're not looking at it as a sexual orientation. I think they're more looking at it as a religion, where it's okay for you to believe this, believe that, believe this. You're a Mormon. I'm Christian most of the time. So and there used to be something called witnessing or telling people. And then, I liked the people. I didn't want to get up in people's faces and be like, you better accept this or you're going to die a horrible death and you're going to burn in hell. So now I think it's just kind of shifted to where they're like, you need to accept.
But see,
you have to accept the sexuality. You have to accept this.
But see, when you have other changes with that, when you get to choose, you can align yourself with the gender that you choose, and that means you can go into women's locker rooms. Look at the swimmers at what do you call it? The University of Kentucky, or the one they swam against Riley Gaines. They weren't told; they were expected to accept the fact that a biological male was going to change into their locker room. Mm-hmm. They had no choice in the matter. So,
well, no, not giving that person a choice. That's definitely a problem. Okay, it's just in a family dynamic. There's something that when it comes to anything or anybody, even like talking, if you're uncomfortable, there's a time you need to say something or do something about it. and those people need to respect.
Yeah, no,
Did we really get kicked off?
we got just let everybody know we just got booted off TikTok.
Great.
So I guess they didn't like what we were saying. So, but we're still on podcast, so we're still going to follow through. So Joe, continue with what you were saying.
I don't know what we said. But going back, what was I saying?
You were talking. I lost part with this part we kicked off, but anyway, but when you're forcing it on to people who don't conform to.
Oh, okay. Now I remember what I was saying.
But they're being forced on. That just seems like if you don't agree with this lifestyle, you need to be attacked. You need to be ridiculed. Everybody has different beliefs and different ways of doing things, but it just seems like all of a sudden, the last recent few years, this lifestyle is being pushed on us, and if you don't agree with it, you need to be attacked for it.
So what I was going to go back to also is like, okay, there's inappropriate and there's level of uncomfortability. So at work, we have something that it's the catch-all. Like, if safety overrules everything. So if you feel unsafe, it should trump anything that is, that of your feelings. And I think that's something that people need to abide by. So it should have been those women to speak up and say to, say this, this transgender person's in their locker room, hey, stop! I feel unsafe, and then that will negate, or that will start liability.
Yeah, but that's not happening.
No,
they're told, like Riley Gaines, she was told, you must accept this. You must.
Yeah, but if Riley
this.
Gaines said, I feel unsafe.
No, but she did. She did, and many of the other swimmers, they've done.
Well, then they should have.
What
if they just joined together and said, all right, we're out of here?
Okay, but look at this. But,
anytime they're okay, and I'm not saying that they're wrong, but I'm saying that a group together is more powerful than one person alone.
But you also have to remember, a lot of these girls now, they're like, there's an example today on the news. There was this high school, I think it was a runner. She is in Connecticut somewhere. She's suing, I don't know if her high school or suing the high school athletic association of some sort, because there was biological males won all the races, the state races, the regional races. So you're competing at a marketable disadvantage. No matter what you do, you can never get to that level because someone who was born a biological male is now competing and winning in a sport that you're never going to be able to reach.
Yeah.
And we've got to get some.
What about making our own? Okay, hold on. What about making their own division? So you have men's.
That's one thing.
Men's, females, and then you have transgender.
That's one thing. Have your own division, but not to compete with biological female.
That was the whole. Still rock that.
Well, that was the whole thing in Loudoun County, Virginia. That started that pushed Glenn Youngkin to the governorship. A transgender, a biological male, went into a locker room with a female and raped this girl. And then the school district knew about it, and they moved the transgender to another school, and the person did the same thing again.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all transgenders are going to do that, but what about the rights of these girls?
Mm-hmm.
We're destroying that. I mean, you've got two girls. One is, 22?
Yeah.
And then your daughter is, 7?
Mm-hmm.
So they're facing these issues, and they're being told you must accept this, whether you like it or not.
Okay,
you will accept.
But
it.
I don't think a transgender male to female is going to be a better teacher than my daughter. And then also, like the little one, her professionalism is being a little girl. So I don't know if you can outgirl her.
Yeah.
So,
but what happens if she goes into the schools, like your youngest? And they're saying they're pushing this stuff. They're pushing that you're going to have sexually explicit. Now the Biden administration is forcing Georgia to accept pornography into the schools.
Okay. What I would do though is that even back when I was going through school, there was the sex education portion.
Yeah, we had that when I think I was
And
in 8th grade or
but
something like
you
that.
could opt out of it.
Yeah.
Like if your parents were uncomfortable or they were over religious or something like that, there was an opt out function, and I would just do the same thing
But what if that's
for that. I mean, you would have to, but if
No,
you
I got that. But what about schools across the country where the teachers are not telling the teachers are
then
telling
you
the
sue
students?
the school.
But this is
Look,
what parents are having to deal with.
If the Bud Light and the Target has taught us anything, okay, is that when you hit them in the purse, they react, okay?
And that's what you're gonna
Bud Light, as soon as they took a little bit of a dip, they took an even bigger hit now. But since you take a little bit of a dip, they were like, okay, hey, this whole Dylan Mulvaney thing, we're distancing ourselves from that. Why? Because they saw, they saw a decrease in revenue. And then Target did the same thing. Target did the same thing when they were like, oh, here you go. And they had it all loud and proud in the front, okay? And all of a sudden, the shoppers, who the majority of the shoppers were families, they were like, nope, we're not doing this. We're going to boycott. So what they did is like they didn't take it out completely. They're just like, okay, we're going to move it in the back.
Well, the other thing was,
they took a hit. So that's the only way you're going to kind of.
Well, the other way that you're going to hit these companies is the shareholders are they're going to have some lawsuits.
But a lot of the thing too is like I think so. The person that had the Dylan Mulvaney campaign, she kind of went rogue. She didn't bring it up to like the higher ups because if the higher ups heard about,
see, this is where I disagree on that. Okay, yeah, she might have went rogue, but the higher ups did a very muted response to it. I mean, you've lost. Think about it. The Anheuser-Busch has lost $20 billion.
Well, no, they're muted. No, there wasn't a muted response. They were just like, "Hey, you need to pull back this campaign."
Yeah, but
whoever set up this campaign, she's done.
Well, I mean, I'm going to imagine with Target and with now Kohl's, and then you have Bud Light or Anheuser-Busch, the parent company. I wonder if the shareholders we haven't heard from are suing or getting ready to sue these companies.
They maybe.
Well, no, because you have but you have a fiduciary responsibility to your shareholders.
Yeah.
If the board of directors and the CEO goes rogue, that's your investment.
But also,
what is their investment like now?
But also, does Bud Light have a reason to sue this woman who started that campaign?
No, I don't know if that I don't know legality because she works for Anheuser-Busch. I don't know if you can sue somebody that worked for you because they decided to do a campaign.
But
there's got to be accountability.
there's a lot of risk reward when it comes to big corporations like that. And
is.
if it works, then it works.
Yeah, but
if it fails,
but if it fails miserably like that, then you have a problem, and that's when the shareholders get involved. If you're a shareholder at Target and Anheuser-Busch, and you were making, let's make it easy math, $200 a share, and now your shares are worth $50 a share. Look at the money your investment has lost.
And I am not stopping. I am not going to stop shopping at Target to get everything there.
I
think I'd rather go there before I go back to Walmart.
I mean, I go to Target just for little things. I mean, I just always like their store, but I mean, I can see people's concerns, especially when you put Pride items for kids. And I saw some pictures where they were showing you have a toddler and you have a Pride thing, so you're pushing it onto children, and parents you have no recourse. There's not a lot of place that has moderate price clothing for kids.
Do you think they have binders for men?
Yeah, and that's the other thing, binders for men.
Well, I mean, check it out. Maybe there's like a lot of high speed, low drag when you have a binder on.
Yeah, it's just it's getting crazy, and it's just so this is going to play out, and this is going to continue to play out. So we'll have to see where it goes. And it's playing out in education. And I was on a radio show today. I mentioned it because there was a county in Florida north of Tampa that was facing this. And I'm like, look at our reading and math scores, our educational scores.
Yeah.
So this is what we're going to focus our American educational effort on?
Well, I think it's, like I said earlier, I think it's the media perpetuating what's hot.
To a degree. They overplay this, but also this is happening across America.
You tell me about kids not up to grade level in math and reading, I'm going to start falling asleep. But if I'm a okay,
This,
in a majority of okay, so you would have to maybe think, considering the election and the voting registration, that the majority of conservatives are now the majority of conservative. There's a majority of conservatives here in Florida. So why not get a bunch of conservative Floridians riled up? Like, hey, this county, they played a Disney movie with a gay character in it.
But I'm not so sure it's just a liberal conservative issue in Loudoun County, which is not exactly a hotbed issue because Virginia really hadn't elected a Republican in a number of years. And you had independents, Democrats, and Republicans outrage of what was being taught, what was being pushed to their students. So I'm not so sure this is just a conservative liberal issue. I think this goes across even people not affiliated, the people who are not political. They're like, I want my kid to learn, not go through this stuff. And this is what's happening across America.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see. This is not going to go away anytime soon. So we'll have to see how this plays out.
Would it be a little bit more okay, would this be more acceptable if they weren't trying to force it on us?
I mean, it's
okay. Like, I mean, say you go to school and like, you know, if a kid wants to identify as whatever they want, and they're like, okay, cool. Hey, we're gonna try our best to do that, and they're not like, oh, let's go seek a gender affirming care, or like,
well, I don't know. I mean, it's like
someone wasn't like barraging me with their pronouns, saying you need to identify, you need to call me this. Or
well,
do
maybe
that.
I don't know, but it could be the same thing as same-sex marriage. Everybody didn't seem to have a problem with it. I mean, a couple of years ago maybe, but now it's like more acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
But people were like, hey, if you want to marry who you want, just don't push it on me.
Okay.
Maybe if they weren't pushing it into the schools, or everything is LGBTQ, and people were like, I'm tired of being bombarded with it. I'm tired of being it pushed down my throat. Maybe it would have been different. I don't know.
Have you ever heard of the, it's something called androgen sensitivity?
I heard a little bit. I haven't gotten to research into it.
Okay, so basically during the process of being created or during pregnancy, is that certain hormones are released to determine whether it's a boy or a girl. And sometimes they get crossed. So sometimes it has the parts of a girl, but has the hormones of a boy.
Okay.
And it's not intersex. It's not like both parts. It's like you have this part, but you're so, and there's a couple people that they can almost determine that might have had that, but they kind of keep it to themselves. And maybe is that maybe something that's kind of coming to the forefront, where it's like maybe there's a lot more cases of this androgen sensitivity, and this is why a person that is this gender feels like they're that gender.
That I don't know. I'm going to have to research more into that. I can't really comment 'cause I don't really know much about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, it's in a different world right now. It's not just this LGBTQ. It just seems like everything is about this woke ideology between everybody is racist, or this country is systemically racist.
I wonder if we got kicked off TikTok because I referred to the LGBTQ as more of a religion than an actual.
I don't know.
I mean, because because basically it's your belief and you're just trying to push it on somebody else. So
I don't know. I don't know. But just, I mean, it could, because we're going against. Maybe it's something. Maybe it's the whole viewpoint that I have, is that they're pushing this ideology and I'm against it.
Mm-hmm.
And they could say, "Hey, off you go." And to me, it's a form of censorship. I mean, you have the tech companies doing the bidding of a certain group, and if they don't like it, we're going to censor you. We're going to shut you down.
So, kind of before we kind of like end the show, okay, now that we've seen the backlash from Anheuser-Busch or Bud Light. And we're seeing what happened to Target and North Face.
Right.
What now? Tomorrow, or if you were listening to this today, is the beginning of Pride Month. are we going to be seeing a lot? Are we going to see like last year, every company that was mainstream would turn the rainbow flag on and be like, we support, we
I
believe.
think it. I think it
Do you
was,
think is there going to be a resurgence, or is it just going to be like, are they going to back off?
that's to be determined. I mean, with all these boycotts, I don't know. We'll have to see. I really don't know, because people, it's just, I mean, each company comes out and they face a huge boycott. So we'll have to see in the next couple of weeks if there is a push against it, and I don't know. We're just going to have to see.
Okay. All right, John. So how can he go ahead and get a hold of us?
Well, you can get a hold of us by going to ubaldireports@gmail.com, and Ubaldi Reports is UBALDI Reports, REPORTS. You can check us out on all the streaming sites that podcasts can be found at Ubaldi Reports. Now, we're probably not going to be live streaming on TikTok next week, because I can go
we're
back.
probably good for a week.
I can go back. It's restored on June 7th at 7:45 p.m. I'm not sure what the date is for next Wednesday, so we'll have to see. But we'll still do the podcast itself.
Oh, wait. No, that's Wednesday. We might be able to come back on Wednesday.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. But anyway, we'll have to see where we're at. So keep checking at Ubaldi Reports. And if you go to the different streaming sites, we have all the past shows that we've done, so you can check us out for things. If you couldn't listen to this one, you can listen to other ones. So keep pushing. Let people know we're going to keep doing this. My goal is to do this 5 days a week so I can do this full time and take it from there. But then Joe has always been with us. We missed Ray because he had some other business opportunities he was taking care of. But
Ray's got a class project to do.
There you go. But Joe also has a podcast that he and Ray are getting involved with. And I'll let you, Joe, explain that.
Sure. We're doing All American Gunslingers, which is more than we're working on a gunsmith, marksmanship, and also we have a podcast where we talk about liquor, guns, and other gun related information, and we just BS for the most part. So you can catch us there as All American Gunslingers at gmail.com, and you can look for us all on All American Gunslingers social media, and you will find us.
So till next time, keep listening to Ubaldi Reports. We do the live podcast at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday. So till then, keep following Ubaldi Reports.